Hi, it's Wayne from howtofish.com.au, and since we've got so much time on our hands, I thought it'd be worth looking at some more stuff that we can make at home. And today I'm going to show you how to make a lure, but it's not just any lure, it's a lure that also has bait. And I tell you what, I've been experimenting with this over the last year and it has been dynamite. Now you'll remember in the last video I showed you how to make a rod holder like this and like this. This is the one I made in the last video, and it's made out of, the head at least, is made out of Fimo modeling clay. Okay, very easy to work with, very much like plasticine. I have no affiliation with this at all, it's just something I use because it's useful. And you can make these things very, very easily. It's very easy to shape. So we made this last time. Okay, so that fits onto any type of steel rod, works perfectly. We're going to use this stuff again now to make a lure. So I'll show you what you need to actually make this whole thing work. Now the first hook you'll need needs to be reasonably stout, but certainly with a wide gape. Okay, so this is a size 6/0 hook in a beak style, but you don't want the eye turned back. Just have that straight, works better, and I'll explain why later. But a 6/0, okay, because this is going to be the main hook in that lure. But then you need a long shank hook, okay, something like this. This is a size 1 long shanked hook. Doesn't matter what color. I mean, red is good only because it looks a bit like, you know, sort of a fish that's wounded. But this will be part of the back of the lure, okay. Then what you'll need just some fine gauge wire, just a little bit of that actually, just to help bind some things together. And then you need some pliers and some wire cutters so you can trim that. That's all you need, and this is so simple to do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take the molding clay out of the packet, which is very, very simple to do. And then we just start molding it. Okay, so I'll mold it for a little while. It actually, once you get it warm in your hand, it's sort of like plasticine. Once it gets warm in your hand, it's very easy to mold. So I'll mold this into a shape, and then I will show you what I've done. Now I molded this for about a minute, and it's become very nice and pliable, just like plasticine. So now what I want to do is I just want to estimate how much I need to actually make a lure with, and it's not going to be much. I mean, this is quite thick and everything else, so what I'll do is I'll pull a piece off, and the rest of it I'll just wrap up in some cling wrap and put that away. If I leave it out, it'll just dry out, so I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to pull off a piece that I need, piece that big, okay, which is going to be the base of my lure. So now I'll start to mold it into the shape I want, which is going to be this. Once I've sort of got it to about what I think is a reasonable size, I'm going to see, I've got an indentation there, I'm going to actually start to put the hook in it to see where that will position itself. So you see, the first thing I'm going to do is I've got the hook there, and I want to have the eye of the hook, okay, the eye sticking out, because that's where I'm going to tie my line. And then what I want to do is I want to have, obviously, I want to have a hook, tip of the hook sticking out as well, because that's what the fish are going to grab. And then what I'll do is I've just put that in place there, so I know where that will fit, because then I'm going to take out my other hook. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to simply put the thread the wire through the eye of the hook, and just thread that fine wire through the eye of this long shanked hook. And the reason for that is I want to basically connect it to this. I want to tie it to this, just so it's holding onto something really solid in the lure, so it can't be pulled out. Now this stuff does go quite hard, really hard, once it's actually baked in, once you put it in the oven, once it's heated. But I just like to join them so that it doesn't move at all. Now you'll see I've just threaded this on here, wrapped it around the other hook, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bend that round, just around the shank of the other hook, a couple of times, because all I want it to do in the end is be sticking out like that. So now I've secured that. That is just sitting in there nicely. That won't come apart. And I'm ready now to fold this into position with my with the dough that I've got with the molding clay. Okay, so I put this in here. What I want to do is I just want to have the eye just sticking out of it, and I just want to have the hook sticking out of it, and then I want to have a tail on it, which is what this is for. So I'm just going to fold this over now and then start to mold it into the shape that I want. I might even pull off some more of this, and I'll mold this a little bit until I get it right. So I'll just keep molding and I'll just show you what I've done. Okay, so after a little bit of molding, I've started to get it into a bit of a fish-like shape. Now the important thing is just make sure there's enough clearance in there to be able to tie a line around the eye of the hook. Make sure that there's enough clearance for a fish to be able to get its mouth around that. But also, this secondary hook is not just there for looks. What I do then is I use a little bit of bait. Now, this is what I've done in the past. Usually a piece of, if I'm saltwater fishing, it'll be a piece of squid, but I cut it into a strip so it trails off here like a tail, or even a thin piece of chicken. A flat piece of chicken, you hook it onto that hook so that it comes out here, and what's happening is that will move a little bit as you pull it through the water. So you've got a piece of bait on the end here on this final hook, so that makes it look like a tail, but there's a hook in it as well, so it's doubling up your chances. And if you're making something bigger, what you can always do is put a small ball sinker into the body here, so you can push that in and mold around it. It'll make the body will bulge a little bit, which looks natural anyway, and that adds a bit more weight. So if you put it up front here under the eye of the hook, then it's top loaded, so it'll always go head first down and look like a normal fish, you know, sort of moving through the water. So with a little bit of time, you can get the shape really, really good. I've done this fairly quickly. Okay, so the next thing is I'll just basically put some marks on it to make it look a bit like a fish. Now, when I add a bit of chicken to it, or some piece of bait to it, I use something like this. So this piece of chicken here, I'll just thread that onto the tail. It's been added onto the tail there. You can see this type of thing is really soft and pliable, so it moves around in the water. So any jigging action make this move in the water, make it act a bit like the tail of a live fish. So it's as simple as that. Nice and hard. Got your hooks there above so that they're not getting snagged. You can put your tail on the end here so you've got something moving with some flavour. Works pretty well. Anyway, look, if you've done something similar to this, if you've made your own lures, please let us know about it. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And for any information on how to fish and for gear, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. See you next time.